Good morning. Welcome to this week's Wednesday Wisdom. I'm super excited that you dial in, post on here and see what's going on. I want to encourage you each week so that you can get traction in your faith, so that we can be more positive and productive in our lives. And one way that I can do that, because I'm an encourager at heart, is to jump on here with a little bit of wisdom, sharing what I'm walking through, and hopefully it will help you in what you're walking through. So I don't know if you're like me, but most of my life I was frustrated. Anything I did, I was frustrated. I felt like I was just going around and around the same mountain and not really getting any traction and making any progress. And so today's word is about being frustrated and really breaking that cycle of going around and around the mountain. And it comes out of a parable in the Gospel of Matthew. I'll post it later. I'm going to read out of the Passion Translation because I am currently loving the Passion Translation. But Jesus is talking, and he's talking to his disciples and people who are following him. So that includes us. So it's nice to know, like, who is the text for? Who is it, specifically directed to, so that we know we can apply it to our lives and just be with confidence that we know that this is a word for us in this season. And you can have that confidence today in this word. So he's talking about fruit, and he's talking about trees. And he says, you must determine if a tree is good or rotten. You can recognize trees by their delicious fruit. And can't we, though? Like my daughter and son-in-law, they grow apple trees and cherry trees, and they have blueberry bushes and raspberry bushes and strawberry bushes. And they know what tree and what bush they're looking at based on the fruit. And so this is like a real life kind of metaphor. It works all the way through. And what Jesus is referring to is basically our words. So if our words are coming out smelling like, sweet flowers, they're going to be good, sweet words. So we will know the fruit because it's coming out of our heart. See, the whole point of this text is, and I love this, what he says in verse 34, he says, for what has been stored up in your hearts will be heard in the overflow of your words. So what he's saying is eventually what's in your heart is going to come out your mouth. And you have control of what's in your heart. You have control of the condition and the quality of your heart. And I'm just going to say, and I know that you know this, but God is most concerned with the condition of your heart over anything else. And you can judge that, and you can partner with him in that based on what's coming out of your mouth. So listening to your self-talk, listening to your verbal talk is going to be one of the best things that we can do. Now, I was reading through this, and I'm just going to tell you, I love this. I couldn't wait to jump on this morning, because the point of this text is not only the words that come out of our mouth, but in continuing on into the next couple verses, in verse 36 and 37 of Matthew chapter 12, he says, everyone will be held accountable for every careless word he has spoken. Your very words will be used as evidence against you, and your words will declare you either innocent or guilty. In other words, your words are going to be the proof of what's in your heart. And so this is good. This is really good. All we have to do is watch the words that are coming out of our mouth. Now, my husband, the chemist, and I are in a season where we are really, really digging into this. And he's got this amazing image in his head. When something comes out of his mouth that's stinky and rotten, or even hinting of stinky and rottenness, of judging, of bitterness, of criticalness, he just chops it off. He's like, I'm just gonna nip it in the bud. I'm just gonna deal with it and nip it in the bud. And so we go through every day in this process right now. It's a tool from Caroline Leaf, Dr. Caroline Leaf. We're huge fans of hers. If you haven't checked her out, click on over. Maybe I'll post her link in the comments below, because she just has some really good tools and teaching dealing with this exact same thing. So we're talking about recognizing the condition of our heart based on what's coming out of our mouth. And all we have to do is listen to the words coming out of our mouth, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to be the standard that we're judged by, because the reality is we're all accountable for our lives. We're all accountable for what's happening in our lives, our actions and our attitudes. We're accountable for that. It's not just gone and forgotten, but that's a whole story for another day. So maybe we'll unpack that next week. The second piece of wisdom with this same thing that really like smacked me in the face comes out of Proverbs, and it comes out of Psalms. Stand corrected. Comes out of Psalms chapter 9, verse 16. And it has to do with the exact same thing. And when I saw this in the context of what we just looked at in Matthew, it was brilliant. And this is what it says in verse 16. For the Lord is famous for this. His justice will punish the wicked. While they are digging a pit for others, they're actually setting the terms for their own judgment, and they will fall in their own pit. Friends, this is huge, because you may have this junk in your heart that maybe you don't know about, maybe you do know about, maybe you are an intentional kind of bully person, but listen to the wisdom in this text, because what it's saying is you will be setting your own trap for what's coming out of your mouth. And if you're intentionally being mean or judging or condescending or critical or malicious, all those awful things, if you're doing that intentionally to hurt other people because you think maybe it's your job to punish them, listen, you are setting your own trap. You are going to fall in the very trap that you're putting other people out there for other people to fall into. It will come back to you. So we can shift this in a moment. We can shift this in a split second just by repenting from that thought. And repenting just means turning around. I am not going to think that way anymore. I repent from that. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. I'm going to think in another direction. We can ask Jesus for a different thought. For me, if I find myself being critical of somebody or judging somebody, the best thing I can do is ask Jesus what he thinks of them. What do you think of them? Because obviously I'm not thinking very well of them right now. I'm offended, I'm hurt, I'm wounded. So if my thought is laying a pit for me, for my destruction, I can shift that by saying, Jesus, what do you think of them? What are your thoughts about them? Because I want your thoughts towards them. Because here's the fact of the matter. He loves them just as much as he loves you. He loves you to the depths of his core. Why? Because he created you. He created you with purpose. He dreamed of you from the beginning of time. And then at the moment you were conceived, he showed up with these blueprints of you. And he loves you. But here's the deal. He loves them just as much as he loves you. And we're called to love them in the same way we love God. And hopefully you're loving God in a really good way. But if for no other reason, be mindful of your words, because it's through our words that we're judged, but it's through our words that we determine what our future is going to look like. And if we're set in a trap with judgment and bitterness and criticalness and resentfulness, we're setting that trap for ourselves. So if you're frustrated, please trust me on this. I have lived through this. I lived through decades of this. And when this revelation came to me, and then I started to walk it out, it was life-changing for me. So I'm telling you, I know this truth from experience. So all it takes is just listening and paying attention to what comes out of your mouth. And if it's stinking rotten, look at your heart. How is my heart towards them? Jesus, is my heart towards them the same as their heart towards them? Your heart towards them, heaven's heart towards them. And if it's not the same, let go of your critical thought, let go of that resentfulness, that bitterness, and get his thought for them, and let that be the filter by which you see them, because that will clean up our hearts. That will give us good fruit. That will determine the direction of our future. And the beautiful thing is it gives us better relationships with each other. So I hope that blesses you. I hope that maybe today you'll just start to pay attention. We're doing this thing with Caroline Leaf. And Carol, I see you, girl. We're going to have to talk, because I think we're doing probably the same Caroline Leaf program, the 21-day brain detox. I'm going to put a link to it in the bottom. So click back after the video ends, because I definitely want to share that with you. So it's not perfection, it's progress. So every day you get to track how well you're doing. How many thoughts did you capture? How much negative words did you collect and get rid of them and replace them with good and clean and healthy words? How many traps did you unset and throw away so that you can have good things in your path and good relationships in your life? How many of those did you do? Hey, if you do one today, that's one more than you did yesterday. I can guarantee you that. If you did more than that today, hey, great, because it's about progress. It is not about perfection. But just remember, the most important thing is the desires in your heart. What comes out of your mouth reflects the condition of your heart. And that's what God is most concerned about today. He's not concerned about how much money you make. He's not concerned about your weight. He's concerned about those things. He wants to bless you with health and prosperity and abundance. But the most important thing, it all starts with the condition of your heart. So I love you. I can't tell you how much I love you. I look forward to connecting with you, and be a blessing. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know your thoughts on this. I will put both the scripture and the link to Dr. Caroline Leaf's little brain detox program in the comments below. Mwah! Have a great day.